Let's go. We finally here. Let's go.
There we go. We are officially
Actually, on. Better be on.
Yes, we are on.
Alright, cool. Dang, why are there so many thoughts on my freaking DMs? Damn, bro. Alright. Let's start with the stream. So we're doing off-season previews. Jack probably is either on the first team or he's showing off that we're going to be doing either the AFC or something like that. I don't know.
Showing the big off-season previews title screen.
Alright, cool. So, yeah, let's just get right into it because the intro stuff we're not too good at. So, yeah, let's just get started.
We're starting.
Yeah.
Buckle up, B-words. We got a lot to do.
Yes. That'll bring us into our first team. That is the New York Jets. That's my team, which you probably already know at this point. This is off-season's a little unique because the money is not as high as it normally is. So we're going to have to find a way to get under the cap again. Normally, we have more than enough money to spend. But this year, we're at negative $264K. That's probably going to change in the next month. Restructures, cuts, all that. But if you look at the guys to bring back, I think number one priority is going to be Connor McGovern. He's been our center for 2-3 years now, and he's like literally only consistent dude on the offensive line. He's never hurt. He plays all the snaps, and he just brings stability. He's not the best center, but he's not a bad center either. Then another big one is going to be George Fant. Obviously, he was starting tackle. He had a down year this year, but he was like injured and he moved around. There were a lot of problems going on, so that was a rough start for George Fant, but still a guy we need to consider bringing back. Sheldon Rankins is another one. He's literally our only starting defensive tackle that's also not under contract. Quinn Williams, and then everybody else is leaving. So Sheldon Rankins is another big priority. And then Quan Alexander as well. He's one of our only linebackers that's under contract. So if he leaves, then we're just going to have like C.J. Mosley pretty much. So that's the big four to bring back. But I guess it's time to get into the interesting part of the Jets offseason, and that's Zach Wilson is bad. He's very bad. I think we know that at this point. We need a quarterback. One of these quarterbacks. So there's a lot of different options here. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers has been in a dark hole for like a couple of days. He's still trying to decide what he wants to do. So obviously, Aaron Rodgers is a great choice. Lamar Jackson, too, contract dispute. One of the elite young quarterbacks. If he's healthy, he's going to be one of the best. Then you also have Derek Carr. He's not like elite necessarily, but he's a really good quarterback. He brings stability to the position, and he's a little younger than like an Aaron Rodgers. And then, of course, the wild card in Hendon Hooker. He's not going to be able to start right away, so you have to pair him with a veteran. But that's fine. He could also be a guy I think has franchise quarterback upside. So obviously, I think if you're the Jets, your number one goal this offseason needs to be prioritize getting a quarterback.
Yeah. This quarterback situation. Who do you think they're going to get, Jack?
If I had to predict right now, I think it's Derek Carr. They had really good discussions with him, apparently, and he's very interested.
Who do you want?
So I want Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers because that's like really good. But you know, Derek Carr is who he is. He's a good player.
He's mid.
Yeah, mid. We'll call him mid.
It's like a nice way of putting it. Okay. Yeah. And then you would just be like, Hendon Hooker's like the most mid thing on here. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets trade up either, right? Because they like Anthony Richardson
really like Anthony Richardson's like skill set and talent and all that.
If they like Will Levis, the high riser, like a couple of years ago.
That didn't go well last time.
I don't think there's anything else really to say about that one. So yeah, unless Josh has something to say about that one.
Well, I think from all these options, Lamar Jackson or Derek Carr are the two people who the Jets should go after. Of course, they have negative cap space, but they'll probably fadoodle their way. I know, fadoodle, weird word. I'm going with it.
Word.
It's a word now. They're going to have to fadoodle their cap space through whatever this is. And hopefully they can get Derek Carr, Lamar Jackson, because Aaron Rodgers, we don't know what he's going to do the next day. He may smoke some sort of substance and then feel like he needs to play wide receivers, so then his ancestors are happy with him, and I don't know where this analogy is going. Then Hendon Hooker, he's 25, so even if he's sitting behind somebody, the clock's ticking. He needs to start. You can't just have a project guy on a team like this. So Derek Carr, Lamar Jackson would probably be the best options for the Jets.
All right, cool.
Guess that's
Doug, you want to mention the others?
I'll go into, I guess we'll do tackle and then linebacker. Try to get 2 in 1. Tackle. I'll go over this, but tackle is a very big need for the Jets. As you can see right there, Mr. George Fant is leaving. I understand he wasn't the greatest tackle last year, but he was very good at left tackle the year prior. You have Mekhi Becton. We all know Mekhi Becton's deal. He gets injured a lot. So he's not really a guy that I'm cool with relying on going into the offseason as my starting left or right tackle, to be honest. Maybe I'll bet on him to come back and compete for the spot, something like that. But I'm not going in with Mekhi Becton as the starter. Then other than that, you have Dwayne Brown. But Dwayne Brown's shoulder is like really messed up. I don't know how much longer he has. He was okay, but I don't think it's going to get better from here. And we're really going to need protection if we're going to get a new quarterback for Derek Carr. Obviously, the tackle situation's weird. Max Mitchell's a rookie, so don't really know what to expect. He did okay, but then he got hurt too. Blood clots. Another big one is AVT. Played really well at both tackle positions, but then he got injured. So I don't really know if they want to keep AVT out there. That could obviously change their plans as well. But if you're the New York Jets, you don't have a lot of money. You're probably going to be prioritizing quarterback, but try to bring back George Fant. Maybe give Orlando Brown a lot of money. I'd be fine with that too. If you can make it work, all means go for it. But I think right now the most viable option is you take one of the big 3 tackles at 13, Bernardrick Jones, Paris Johnson, or Peter Skorowski. Still struggling with his name, but all those 3, I'm cool with either. Yep, Skorowski. All 3 of those tackles are very viable options here at 13. I think you should just take whichever one you like the best. That's just personal preference. I see him going a lot of different orders. I like Paris Johnson, but, whatever you want to do. And who's ever available, because, I think the Titans are in front of us. They're going to be looking at tackle after they just released Taylor Lewan. Never know, like the Raiders, I think they'll go after a quarterback. There's a lot of teams that could need tackles, so you may just have to take what's available. So I think that's the best way to assess the tackle situation.
Yeah. And then do you want to talk about linebackers so we can get 2 in 1?
Yeah, we'll go over linebackers too. So linebackers obviously have CJ Mosley. He's regressing still. He had an All-Pro somehow. Don't really know how. He's a good player, but he doesn't have the physical talents he used to have. And the Jets are losing Quincy and Kwan Alexander. Those are 2 big contributors. I think realistically they're going to sign one back and draft one. I don't know if it'll be Trenton Simpson because that'll have to take probably a first rounder potentially. Maybe he slips in the second. I doubt it, but I don't think they're going to go after like a high-end value linebacker, but they just need someone solid to go next to CJ Mosley. Like Kwan Alexander. I think he should be their number 1 priority. I'd also definitely like to go after Devin Bush or Deion Jones if they're able to make the money work. But overall, it's a big need. It's like, it was fine last year, but that's because we had Kwan and Quincy, and now that both are leaving, it's going to have to get shored up somehow, because outside of CJ, we don't really have a competent linebacker on this roster when Kwan and Quincy leave. So, realistically, I expect them to re-sign one. Maybe they draft another one in the middle or late round to keep developing. And yeah, that's pretty much it for linebacker. It does need to be addressed. It's going to be a problem if our big 2 linebackers that are going into free agency shake loose and leave the team.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everything. I think George Fant. Do you really think logistically you could get Orlando Brown if you're going to go after Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers, though?
I think if you're having a quarterback with like $30 million plus on the yearly payroll, I don't know how you're going to make it work. You'd have to push.
And Chiefs are probably just going to franchise tag Brown again, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty.
They're too fond of him leaving.
Yeah, or they're gonna give him a big contract. Does he want to be like the highest paid? So he wants quarterback money too.
Yeah, he.
It's crazy amount.
Compared to.
And yeah, it makes sense though. That's an obvious one. And then Broderick Jones, that's probably the logical one at that area. Maybe you're gonna have to trade up a little bit because the tackles are a little I wouldn't say small, but it's a weaker class. That's where the good tackles leave, and then there's gonna be developmental tackles. And then Paris Johnson, if you can get him, that's crazy. That'd be crazy value. I think you guys are gonna take Trenton Simpson with your pick. He's the easiest. He's a easy plug and play guy, especially being next to CJ. They play really similar too, which is kind of good. He looked really good in Clemson. So, have you checked out any of his film, Jay?
I've watched a little bit of him. I'm definitely fine with taking Trent Simpson in the first round. If one of the big three tackles aren't available, Trent Simpson is definitely the next best.
I would also. We'll talk about him a little later, but I would debate another guy. If he's there, I think you should take him over Trenton Simpson because he can play an Isaiah Simmons type role. Deion Jones and then Devin Bush. Devin Bush is gonna want something though. I know he's been injured, but the dude's gonna want something. His value is crazy. And then Deion Jones that's a good budget option, I guess. Would be a budget? I think it would. Josh, you have anything else?
I think, like we say with every single draft, it's really how the board falls is usually what this is. So I think that the best way for the Jets to go is if they are dead set on a quarterback, make sure to use their 13 picks, use their players to trade up. But if they want to stay where they are, draft a tackle if the top three fall, but draft a linebacker. None of the top three fall, and then wait for a tackle in the second round. Because I think that this is isn't this a pretty good tackle class?
It falls off right after Broderick Jones because I believe Anton Harrison is his name, the Oklahoma guy. He's very raw.
Aren't they like second round guys? Or I think.
Yeah, but the second round guys are raw. That's the reason. That's the only problem with it.
Guards.
Yeah, no, guards are even worse this year.
Isn't there that guy from North Dakota State? What does he play?
No, he's like a third rounder. He's rising though. Cody Marsh.
Yeah, Cody Marsh. He's a tackle, right?
He's a tackle, but he's rising. He's a high riser. He's still very raw. He went to North. He went to where Trey Lance went to school. He's gonna be very raw.
Go to that.
He is, yeah.
School.
So I could see that, and if they're gonna go with the tackle past the first round, make sure that they re-sign George Fant because Orlando Brown's not coming to them. Orlando Brown is, I'm sorry to say it, I respect Orlando Brown, but he's being very delusional right now. He was given top tackle money and he said, no, give me more money. So don't go after him. Just try to draft for the year 2 and 3.
Then you want to talk about the linebackers?
Did.
You did?
Yeah, I said, based on how the board falls, draft a linebacker first or second round.
Alright, cool. Alright, now we just have safeties and interior linemen.
Alright, that'll be our final two. I'll start with safety. Whitehead, up and down player. Pretty shaky, but I think they're going to give him another year in the system. LaMarcus Joyner, absolute disaster, unplayable. Ashton Davis, mid to below average at best. So safety is going to need to be addressed in some form. Obviously, oh my God, Brian Banch, you're going to need to use the first-round pick, but I think he would be a very good fit. He's very versatile. I think he'd slide right into the free safety role and get the job done. Antonio Johnson, another solid draft option. Don't know if you'll be spending 13 on him, but he'll be a second-round look. I would consider adding safety in the draft, but it kind of depends. As always, the board kind of just depends on where it falls. If the big three tackles are gone, it's like, ooh, and then if it comes down to like Trenton Simpson versus Brian Banch, that could be an interesting debate based on what the Jets want to do with their system. And I think the other options would be obviously just sign a viable vet. Von Bell will be great to add. I think Jimmy Ward, because he played with Saleh before, they have the continuity, familiarity with the system. I think it makes a lot of sense to pair them up. Jimmy Ward's not going to be the long-term answer at safety, but you're not going to have to break the bank for him. And hopefully he can hold down the ship slightly better than Joyner. But overall, free safety, it kind of depends. I'm definitely cool drafting Brian Branch if a tackle's not available. But I think they're just going to have to plug it in with a vet for now and address it at a later date. And then last but not least, interior O-line. Laken Tomlinson, he struggled, but unfortunately because of the contract, he's here to stay. We're just going to have to see if he can bounce back. You're losing McGovern potentially. That needs to be your number one priority to get your center back. And then you have AVT, which depending on how you want to play him and the versatility of him, you could put him at tackle, at guard. So that's up to where they want to play him. It kind of makes it depend on how much interior O-line is a need. They also have another guard that started and played okay, Nate Herbig. We'll see if they bring him back or not. But overall, I think what you're looking at if you're the Jets is a starting center. It's your big goal. I think you should just get Connor McGovern back. Just keep the stability, keep the same center. I think that helps. It always helps to have the same guy come back. But I don't mind a Garrett Bradbury or Austin Blythe if you have to change centers and McGovern won't come back for whatever reason. I don't know what market values are comparing McGovern to the other two, but I feel like McGovern's a little more expensive, but I think it would be worth it. You need to find a way to get Connor McGovern back at a friendly price. That would bring, I think that would be the best goal because AVT's not playing center. And then depending on what you do with AVT, if you move him to tackle, you may need to add a guard at some point too.
Yeah. Would you be like willing to add Osias Torrance if you do move AVT to tackle?
Well, that guy's a freak. I think so. I would.
Is that the only guy you wouldn't take John Mitchell's Smart? I can't say that name too well. It's the Minnesota. I believe he's a center.
I don't know. I think it would have to be Osiris Torrance, and then move Osiris.
Yeah, I think so. That guy is actually like a freak. And what else? Safeties. That's the guy I'm talking about. Brian Branch can play nickel, but there's some sets where he's linebacker. So like if you really are interested in having Brian Branch bulk up over the offseason, you can just draft him and then put him at linebacker. That's an interesting situation. Turner Johnson's more of a cover guy, and then Von Bell is he's gonna be like one of the higher paid ones. I don't know if your salary could take that. And Ward is a good option, and he's also Salah. You'll probably go after Ward, being honest.
I think that's the most viable one right now.
I think that's the one. Yeah, it's not even like a budget option. It's just because Salah knows him. So yeah. All right, we can move down to the Patriots. We'll try to. We still have like.
Wait! I didn't get to say anything.
Man, Josh, you need to speak up then.
Yeah, I did speak up. I just said something right now. Okay.
Okay, well then keep going. Come on.
I'm gonna explain something really quickly. So I think that drafting a safety would be really good, especially if Antonio Johnson falls somewhere in the range and they don't want to draft one of these raw tackle talents in the second round. Because Antonio Johnson, we saw him play against UMass. He wasn't that good for that game. I mean, he did his job, but it wasn't anything amazing. But he's still a really good player. And then, like Jack said, bring back Connor McGovern. That's your big option. But I can see Jimmy Ward as something for the safeties if they want to sign someone. They still got cap after the quarterback stuff.
All right, now we can move on to the Patriots, and we could probably speed this up a little bit more. Just a tiny bit.
Okay.
Like, is there anything like big that we need to talk about? Like the Jets, I understood the quarterback thing, but is there anything like we could probably just combine everything going? Not combine.
Skim over it a little lighter.
Yeah, the Patriots are in a weird situation right now.
They kind of are, though.
Because should they tank or should they start contending?
They're just in the middle. And they do have some money to play with.
Are they going to sign 2 tight ends this time?
Yeah, like, are we going to be seeing linebackers Trenton Simpson, Deion Jones, and Devin Booker on every team?
We're going to see them a lot.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Is there Kenny Galladay and Allen Robinson this year?
Okay.
Any teams with money are going to have Deion Jones.
Teams with money or no money at the same time, too. All right, let's start this. So, guys to bring back Jonathan Jones, Devin McCourty, and Jacoby Myers. Oh, God, these guys are bad. Like 2 of them are regressing, aren't they? Jonathan Jones and
McCourty's.
Are they regressing?
About retiring last offseason.
The Jacoby Myers has been like mid.
Yeah, he's pretty mid.
So they're gonna need a number 1 option. Diop is fine. I don't think they're gonna get him though. There's been reports saying that Diop doesn't want to play for them because he doesn't like Bill O'Brien, which shocker. That's a really big shocker. Jordan Addison, that's an awesome option. I mean, he's a little undersized, his frame, it's his size. It's not actually his height or anything. He's a fine jump ball receiver. I think it's his frame. It's a little bit like a Devonta Smith type frame. Not like it, but it's similar. And then Juju is a perfect option, but I don't think he'll be coming here either because he likes Kansas City too much right now. Does anybody else have any opinions on that?
D-Hop
More.
trade is probably unlikely at this point. We'll see if Belichick actually pulls the trigger on a first-round receiver. It hasn't happened yet. Oh, N'Keal Harry did happen a few times. He's not very good at picking them, though, to be honest. So we'll see how that plays out. Juju's also unlikely, so I think they're going to prioritize Jacoby Myers at this point. Their receiving group is probably going to continue to be mid for a little bit.
You know what? This may be a hot take at this point. I think that the Patriots may actually have a 10-win season this year. I know it may not look like that, but remember, they almost made the playoffs with a defensive-minded coach and a special teams coordinator trying to run an offense. That's like giving a toddler a Lamborghini to drive. Now they have Bill O'Brien. And a bunch of people may be saying, but Bill O'Brien's not a good coach. He's a really good coordinator and a pretty good head coach when it doesn't come to playoffs. He can create really good teams. Look at the 2011 Patriots. He created that team, and he helped coordinate them. He knows what he does at this point. So I think that this could be a 10-win team. I think the best way for them to go is probably to put a lot of their assets into, well, Jacoby Myers, and then probably tackle to make sure Mac Jones doesn't get injured. And then everything else is just secondary, or, because Belichick will probably find some random no-name from, I don't know, just going to name a random college, like Arkansas City University, who will be like a really good sleeper pick. So, yeah.
And no, he won't. Alright, the other two, I think we can kind of combine these two. Tackle and corner, I guess. Shire pass. George Fant, Orlando Brown, Broderick Jones, Jonathan Jones, I almost said Joseph, Sean Murphy Bunting, and James Bradbury. That's a perfect fit. I love that. John Murphy Bunting I like too, but I love that James Bradbury to to New England. And then tackle, again, it's the same stuff as the Jets with this. George Fant, that's probably honestly, that fits it perfectly, because will Belichick really want to pay Orlando Brown that much money?
No.
So George Fant is the logical option probably, so I think, yeah, that's why I think that they're going to go. And then James Bradbury, if I had to choose from those three. Yeah. You got anything, Jack?
For tackle, they do need a left tackle. I think Trent Brown's under contract, so he can stay another year, but I've heard Isaiah Wynn is an absolute nightmare and needs to be replaced immediately. So they're definitely going to need to spend a little bit. Belichick's not paying Orlando Brown. Just doesn't seem like his style at this point. So I think his best bet is going to be to go off, get solid vet, like George Fant, poach the Jets for their tackle. Or he's going to have to use that pick and hope one of the big three tackles is on the board for him. That's really the only other viable option. Maybe he's got something cooking, though. Maybe he's got some random guard that's getting ready to transfer to tackle, and he's going to be the best left tackle in the league for years to come. You never really know, but at this point, left tackle is a big priority, so you're looking at George Fant. You could get him at a discount because of his weird down year, and he was playing right tackle, and he could bounce back at a left tackle. So I think that's the best fit right now.
And then the corner situation you want to talk about? Or nah?
I can go over the corners. Obviously, they lost J.C. Jackson last year. They have Jack Jones, who showed some flashes in the middle of the year. He could be a good player. Jonathan Jones, he was their number one corner. He's good, not great. They are going to need to add some corner pieces. I don't know if they're going to break the bank, but I think James Bradbury would be really fun in New England's system. I think he'd pair up pretty well. Sean Murphy Bunting, he was incredible his first few years. Fell off a little bit, but I still think he's a good player. I think Belichick should consider adding him. Belichick does very well with these secondary players. He knows how to coach them up for the most part. So overall, I think they are going to spend on a corner, whether it's re-sign Jonathan Jones or they replace him with one of these, I'm not going to say bigger. Well, James Bradbury is a bigger name. Maybe he wants to be a number one corner again and all that. But I do think they are going to spend on corner a little bit.
All right, cool. Josh, are you back in here?
Yeah, I've been here.
Oh, I thought you left.
I mean, I don't really know what else to say. I already said all my points.
Cool. Alright, then we're going to go down to D-line and linebacker. Alright, so the D lineman that Jack has chosen is Sheldon Rankins, Matt. What the heck? Gordon Phillips. Who the heck is that guy, Jack?
Oh, Matt Ioannidis?
Oh, Ioannidis. I did not know how to say that. Holy crap. My dyslexia just saw all those things and just didn't decide to do anything with it. Okay, Trent Simpson, Deion Jones, and Devin Bush. So same stuff for the Jets. Again, I think they could actually break a little bit of the not bank, but I think that they would pay Devin Bush. That seems like a Patriots move. Trent Simpson, that doesn't seem like a Patriots thing, and Deion Jones, maybe. I would say Devin Bush and Deion Jones, maybe, but I'm more towards Devin Bush. And then defensive line, Sheldon Rankins. I would say, yeah, that seems like what they do. I think Jordan Phillips is what they're really going to go. Another Matt Ioannidis guy. I've never heard of him my entire life. I just heard of him for the first time today. Wait, what team does he play for? That might have helped.
He was good in Washington, and they went to the Panthers this year, and he was less good.
Oh, that guy. Okay, now I know. My bad. Alright, so if you guys want to go ahead and... Yeah.
So I guess the last two needs, D tackle, mainly defensive tackles. They have a good pass rush. I think obviously Judon's a freak. Even Josh Uche got involved a lot, and he did really well. It's all about the interior pressure. Rankins is a good pass rushing DT. You have to play next to Quinn Williams, but I think he's going to want a chance to be a number one DT again. Matt Ioannidis would be like, since he's coming off the down year, I think the idea would be Belichick signs him for cheaper and gets him to bounce back in a better system and scheme. Defensively, that's the idea. You get him back to his Washington form because he was rough in Carolina. And then, of course, you have Jordan Phillips. He was good, I think, Buffalo. He did have a good role in Buffalo, and I think he'd fit in. Obviously, all these defensive tackles are pass rush oriented, and they will thrive with Judon and Uche on each side of them. So I think they're definitely going to sign one of these guys. They just need a solid DT that can pass rush. As for linebacker, Trenton Simpson, I doubt. I think they're going to try to go after a Devin Bush type. I don't really know their linebacker situation. I don't think it's great right now, so it's something they're going to definitely need to add a body to. They have money, so if they're going to spend, I think it's going to be wide receiver, cornerback, and linebacker should be their big looks. So I think they could break the bank, go after Devin Bush. Don't really know Deion Jones' market value right now because he got traded and he's injured all the time. All that stuff, the normal stuff with Deion Jones. He's a little inconsistent, so I don't really know how much they're going to be willing to spend. But there's a decent chunk of cash here. I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out for New England.
All right, Josh, do you want to say anything about the linebackers or D-line?
Seems like what Jack said with Matt Ioannidis, that's how you say his name, right?
Right.
It really seems like that's a Belichick-type signing, especially because he's had a down year and Belichick likes to hop on those. I mean, all this seems... I'm sorry. My voice is being kind of weird today. I mean, I don't really know what the Patriots should do at this point. Like I said before, focus on the top three, but if you want to come down here, Matt Ioannidis is probably who they're going to sign. And then probably they're going to take Devin Bush because he'll probably be their big signing of the year.
All right, cool. I think we're going on to the Dolphins now. Josh, you want to just read these names?
Okay. Dolphins. Should I just read the entire list or?
No, read the guys to bring back, and then do the first one, then do the 2 and 3, and then do 4 and 5.
Okay. So guys to bring back are Gesicki and Melvin Ingram. And then their big need for this year is right tackle with Jawan Taylor, Kelvin Beachum, and Darnell Wright. Okay, so I'll start this off, I guess. For the guys to bring back, I could see Gesicki and Ingram. They are two really good people, especially Gesicki. I don't know how you would basically run your offense without someone like Gesicki. I could see it from the other people, but I think with Mike McDaniel as the coach, he would want somebody like Gesicki to run that offense. Now, on to right tackle. I think that Kelvin Beacham's probably one of your better options here. He played for the Cardinals, and he was, pretty good this year. Nothing to... He's going to be solid, and the big point of emphasis with right tackle is to make sure that you protect Tua and don't give him don't make his concussions up to double digits this year. So right tackle is going to be their biggest need of this offseason. Nothing else. Make sure you get protection for Tua so that he can keep playing. Anyone else want to take the mic?
I think didn't the Titans guy that they just released, doesn't he play right tackle?
He plays left.
Yeah, well, he can move to right.
He can slide over.
I know this isn't Madden,
Yeah,
but
they're just like Madden, Zach.
So yeah, Calvin Beacham's actually probably Darnell White. Man, if they had their first rounder, this would be a lot easier. But they obviously had to screw this up and get Darnell White, which that's a solid option. I believe Darnell White's coming out of.
Tennessee,
Let me. I think you're right about that. I remember doing. Yeah, you're right, Tennessee. Yeah, he's. Well, when I saw him, he was really good in pass protection, which is what they're kind of need. So yeah, Darnell White's gonna be really solid. And then Kelvin Beachum, he was all right for the Cardinals. I think he allowed a couple sacks with Kyler, so that's a bit of a problem. But other than that, it was a pretty solid season. Wait, Anthony Barr's a free agent again?
Yep.
Never knew that. Okay, well, yeah, Josh or Jack, have you said yours? I'm sorry if I.
Actually, I don't think I said anything yet for the Dolphins. Dolphins, this is not like a good situation to have a good offseason. Like, this is not a good recipe at all. Negative $16 million. It's a lot to make up, to be honest. You have a big-time tight end and a decent pass rusher leaving, and you don't have a first-rounder because you wanted to go play with Tom Brady and Sean Payton. So this is not a great way to have an offseason. You're kind of stuck with the budget options pretty much all around the board. You'd like Gesicki back, but I don't know. Gesicki couldn't get... He was a good in the red zone, but he didn't get involved as much as he probably liked to be. He probably wants to be paid handsomely, and I don't know if the Dolphins are going to be willing to dish that out with Tyreek already under contract. And then Waddle's going to want a big extension in the future. So it depends on how much McDaniels values that red zone threat because it is real. And then you have Melvin Ingram. Don't really know his value at this point. He's older, obviously. He's still a really solid pass rush. I think he's going to be a guy that could be clutch into playoff time and that kind of thing. So you're definitely going to want to try to bring him back. I guess we'll just start with right tackle. Yeah, this is to his blind side. You have Teron Armstead on a very expensive contract to play left tackle, so that's fine. But then right tackle is just pretty bad. Obviously, I think Jawan Taylor, he's from Jacksonville. He's okay. He's nothing to write home about by any means. And Calvin Beachum, that's another one. He's okay. He's older. He's better right tackle than he is a left tackle, but that doesn't make him great necessarily either. He's probably better than what they have, but still. And like Zach said, obviously, not having this first-round pick is killing them because you're kind of falling off in the tackles. Not that Darnell Wright is a good player, but I don't know if he's going to be as good as one of the big threes or how ready he's going to be to go. That kind of depends on them. So they're definitely going to have to look in the second round. Look for the raw prospects at tackles. They're going to have to work around that, just like they'll have to work around the cap. But they do need to address this right tackle thing. They need to make sure it's at least a competent player this year.
All right, Josh, you mentioned the next one.
So everyone said their take? Everyone said their take?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So our next needs are 2 and 3, linebacker and tight end. So with this, you're going to have to help me here, Zach. So we have Anthony Barr, Drew Sanders, and Henry Toto.
202.
202? That is way easier than I thought it'd be. Tight end, we have Mike Gesicki, Austin Hooper, and Robert Tonyan as the options. Like I said before, Gesicki should be the person who you are targeting this offseason. I don't think Hooper or Tunyon would be a good idea, especially to bring into a new system like McDaniel's system. With everything already ready to go, they just need to make sure everyone stays healthy this year, and they could actually cause some damage. And for your linebacker situation, I think all these people, I like Tutu Utu. He'd be pretty cool to have. Anthony Barr would be a great option. I don't know with that cap space if you could sign him, but that would probably be a drafting position right there as a linebacker. But tight end, you need to bring back Gesicki. That's the big emphasis for your third need. Anyone else have anything to say?
I mean, I wouldn't be mad about getting Austin Hooper or Robert Tunyon. I mean, I get Mike Gesicki he wasn't targeted as much as we actually thought, though. He's a good safety blanket, but I think that you could just do fine with Austin Hooper or Robert Tunyon. The other thing with the linebackers, Anthony Barr is solid, but he didn't really show too much in Dallas, so he could be dealing with some regression. He is in his 30s. The other guy is Drew Sanders, and probably won't. Now Drew Sanders has actually been raised. Like, his draft stock has been rising a lot. They probably could go with a guy named Noah Sewell, which is Penei Sewell's brother. We'll probably see him a couple times on this tier list. Yeah, but Drew Sanders has been moving up boards. He's a linebacker out of Arkansas. He's a very good tackler, and he's a very good, like, just run stopper too. So that's a very impressive guy to get, but it's just where he's projected to go and where the Dolphins are, it's just not working out. But this other guy, Henry 202, he is very good. He has a decent coverage skills, especially in zone type plays, which the Dolphins do run a lot of zone, especially with their linebackers. I think that this guy would be a really good fit. Now, he is from Bama, so you're going to get that. He'll already have a decent mind because of Nick Saban and how well he can coach up these linebackers to be. So I think that 202 is the best move there. I think that any of the tight ends that Jack mentioned are just fine for this. I think that all of them can work. So, yeah. My preference is I would say Austin Hooper because he's probably the cheapest out of them, or Tunyon. The cheapest one you probably should go at this point. So, yeah, that's just me. Jack, have you said anything?
Not for linebackers. For linebackers, it is a need. Anthony Barr, yeah, he's going to regress. I think the idea, I don't know what his asking price is going to be. It's going to be hard to navigate any major signings for the Dolphins, having to get out of that much cap. We'll see how much cap they're able to clear. When I made this in January, Drew Sanders more like a second rounder. He's knocking on the door of being in the middle to the late of the first round now. So if they had their pick, maybe I would have been able to get him with that one, but I don't think it's going to be practical anymore to get him at this point. He's going to get drafted earlier. We've reached more like Henry 202.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. They're more in that range. Maybe a Noah Sewell, maybe even a Jack Campbell. I don't know where he's going right now, but that's more their range.
Like mid-second round. Are they in like mid-second round?
Yeah, they'll have one in the middle of the second. So that's kind of their range
Okay.
at this point. And that's for tight end. Gesicki, think they want to try to get him back. I don't know if it's going to be possible. I think Austin Hooper and Tunyon, they both showed flashes in the past. They've struggled the past few years, but ultimately I think you're going to bet on buying low and eventually hopefully getting a steal at a tight end position potentially to complement Tyreek and Waddle.
Okay,
Right.
so our next two needs are corner and interior O-line. So these positions are headlined by, first with corner, Rocky Ya-Sin, Cam Sutton, Anthony Brown, and the interior O-line, Trey Turner, Andrew Voorhees, and Justin Pugh. I think that Rocky Ya-Sin is a really, silently good corner prospect. Not prospect because he's be a free agent. I think you could get him for very cheap compared to a lot of other corners. So I think he would be the guy to go after. Him or Cam Sutton would be two really good options to have. Then for your interior O-line, this should probably be one of your big needs because, like we've said with all your other O-line positions, Tua. Trey Turner would be amazing. Justin Pugh would be amazing to draft. I believe he's in the range to draft.
Justin Pugh is not in the draft.
Wait. Oh, Anthony Voorhees is in the draft.
Andrew Voorhees.
I got the two mixed up. Justin Pugh would be a really good option to sign, and Andrew Voorhees would be a great option to draft. My brain flipped it up on me. So, but yeah, that'd be pretty cool to have Andrew Voorhees and Trey Turner if they could. But yeah, that's my take. Anyone else want to go?
Yeah, I think Rakia Sin is probably the move here at Cam Sutton for corner. They kind of just need a corner too. Howard's been running the corner one pretty well lately, so maybe just like you could go crazy too and get James Bradbury. I know that the cap situation looks really bad too with that. There's a couple guys in the later areas of the draft that I could see the Dolphins going after. Like, for example, they can't. Sadly, if this was like a month ago, I would have said Witherspoon, but now it's not that. They could go for guys like Eli Ricks, Julius Brents, or DJ Turner. I know that corners in late rounds don't really work out, but we've seen some like Woolen that produce very quickly. Some others in the second round, if they want to go second round. If they want to trade up to get Clark Phillips or Emmanuel Forbes, that they could also do that. And then there's a couple others like Deontay Banks and others. So if they really want to go with the corner route there, they can go there. Another thing, that's really it for all the corners. Anthony Brown, they probably should avoid. He was pretty bad in Dallas this year. Trey Turner is very solid. He might be asking for a little bit more than what the Dolphins want. I think Voorhees is a great pick, especially with their second round pick. There's not a lot of good interior linemen this year, and Voorhees is one of the better ones. A couple they also can go is Cody Marsh, which is the guy that we mentioned for tackle. He also can move down to guard, which is very helpful. Steve Avila, which is a TCU guard, and then Joe Tipman. Yes, it's the Wisconsin guard. So they're all very good options. All of them are supposed to be second rounders in the middle or third rounders. So this pick thing, they would have, if they had their first round pick, they would have taken Osiris Torrance for sure, or someone else, or like an actual good tackle. One of those guys. So yeah, that's just me. Jack, have you said your thing? Anything?
For corner, they're gonna need a budget option again. I think Xavier Howard, I still believe in as the number one corner. Maybe he's not as elite as some of the past years he's had, but he's still very good. Byron Jones just completely collapsed. He's got a very expensive contract. I think if they're able to get out of it, they are going to get out of it. So they need a nice solid corner to put next to him. I'd probably, Anthony Brown is, he's a little iffy. Maybe as a CB2 he'd be okay, but ultimately I think the bigger targets will be Rock Ya-Sin or Cam Sutton here to pair with Xavier Howard, depending on asking prices. I think those are the solid mid-tier options on the market right now. And then for interior O-line, they have Connor Williams. He moves around center. He's played guard, so kind of depends. There's all guards in this list. Pugh's obviously he's pretty old, but still I'd take him. Trey Turner, don't really know market value right now for Trey Turner, but he's above average guard, so I think he's definitely going to be maybe a little expensive, but if they're able to do it, definitely go for it. But I think more realistically, second round is going to be where they're going to be looking. Osiris Torrance is going to be out of the picture, but like Zach said, a lot of other good options. Voorhees, you have Cody Marsh, and forget the center's name from Minnesota, John something. He's also a very good
Oh, I got you. It's John Mitchell Gump. Oh my God, his last name's so hard. I'll just say John Michael. It's some weird last name. It's really hard.
John Michael, like Schmitz or Schwartz, something like that. But
I think it's that. I had a hard time when I was watching him.
all those options in the second are solid. You just got to slide Connor Williams over, and I think you have much needed offensive line stability. But I think that's the big priority for Miami this offseason. Get some offensive line stability, especially at that right tackle position. Keep Tua afloat and figure out how to sort of manage the Gesicki situation depending on if you're able to get him back or not.
All right, cool. Now we're going to go on to the next. So, Jack, you're going to take Bills.
All right, we're here at the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, this team was pretty complete, but they still got some stuff going on. Obviously, top guys to bring back. These are some big ones, and I don't know how many of them are really practical to bring back. Jordan Poyer, big one. Your safety, long-term safety for now. As the last couple years, he's been reliable. I think he's older, but he's going to want some money. Roger Saffold, Pro Bowl guard in Tennessee, struggled a bit in Buffalo, but still a solid option to start you out at right guard. And then here's the big fish, Tremaine Edmonds. This one is going to be where I get a little nervous if they're able to bring him back or not. Matt Milano just got paid the big bucks. I don't know if it's going to be practical to keep both on your books. And yeah, you got some money to make up too. Negative $16 million. That's not great. But I guess we'll do interior O-line and then safety. Buffalo's interior O-line's kind of been one of their bigger weaknesses. They're not great, all things considered. Especially that right guard position. And with leaving Roger Saffold potentially gone, they could have some major holes outside of Mitch Morse. So if you're looking at it, I think continuity, maybe Roger Saffold in the system another year, resigns, gets a little better. If you could, I don't know. Depends on the value of Osiris Torrance at this point in the draft. If he's going to be there or not, I think is the big question. But if he's there in your Buffalo, I'm definitely considering grabbing him because he's going to be the best guard in this draft. And if he's there in the 20s, that could be pretty decent value. And then last but not least, Nate Herbig. This guy from the Jets. I think we discussed a little bit when we talked about the Jets. Solid guard. I think if you lose Saffold, he could plug in potentially. He's not going to be great. He's not going to be terrible either. But overall, I think you're going to probably draft or just try to re-sign Roger Saffold at the right price.
Yeah, these are some big free agent signings, especially Poyer and Edmonds. Saffold too, but I feel like they'll get him back. The Osiris Torrance thing, they could move him to the other side though, because I feel like they're having a little bit of issues on the other side, aren't they?
Yeah, they're having issues on both guard spots, especially.
Yeah, so they could take Torrance, but that's kind of a later. When you need like another interior presence, you're kind of a complete team at that point. But yeah, I would say probably just re-sign Saffold and maybe draft Torrance because he's that guy. And I don't say that a lot about these guards, but this guy is like the best guard in a long time I've seen since like AVT. Good, so that's saying something. Josh.
Well, I think like everyone else has said, the big thing that they need to make sure that they are doing is re-signing Jordan Poyer, and the next is to work on the interior O-line. They're going to have to fadoodle with some cap here to get these moves done. I don't think that they're in the best position for what they've been trying to do. They've been trying to go all in every single year, and they've always been coming up short. So this is probably one of the big years that they need to make sure to do something. They're starting to lose pieces, and I don't know how much longer this will last. So interior line's their biggest need right now. They need to either draft someone, they need to re-sign Roger Saffold, maybe try to upgrade him with somebody in the draft, or try to find like a cheaper option that could be secretly good is probably what you should do at this point for the Buffalo Bills. But make sure that you re-sign Jordan Poyer and maybe Tremaine Edmonds if you can. Okay.
Alright, cool. Well, yeah, next two.
This we're going to hit safety and wide receiver. Well, depth next. Start with safety, number one priority. Just make it easy. Jordan Poyer re-sign. He can be your one big stellar free agent to bring back. Von Bell, not going to be easy to fit. Neither will Jordan Poyer, though. But if you want to go in and make sure you keep the safety position strong, you can do that. And if Tremaine Edmonds doesn't end up leaving, you can go grab his brother real quick, Terrell Edmonds. Probably more of a mid-tier option. Not going to be as expensive, but not going to be as good at the same time. But overall, that strong safety spot will need to be addressed at some point. Jordan Poyer's presence is going to be felt if he leaves, and you're going to have to, at the very least, find a way to try your best to fill it with something. And then wide receiver depth. Obviously, Diggs, Gabe Davis, very good. Gabe Davis was a little underwhelming compared to what people had expectations, but he's still very good. Obviously, Diggs is one of the best. So, if you go into the depth positions, I think the Zach Pascal, he could be just like a solid option. gets the room a little deeper, so you're not having like John Brown and Cole Beasley coming off the streets in the playoff time. And then you have Josh Downs. He's one of the wide receivers in the draft. He's not. I don't know if I think he's more of a second rounder. He's in their range. I think maybe Jalen Hyatt, Zay Flowers. Those are the guys that I see in their range, late first, early second, if they wanted to grab a receiver that early, though they could want to fill other stuff as well instead. And then last but not least, McCole Hardman. I think he could be a solid deep threat for them moving forward. Add that in. But overall, I just like to add one more receiver to that room to make it really, really solid.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Poyer is their biggest thing to do with safety, because he would just lock down that core. And then some sort of receiver depth. They've always been, I don't know, Gabe Davis has felt a little bit overrated sometimes compared to what he actually is. So I think having some depth in that room would be really good, because Diggs can't do everything. So I think the best option for them to go with is some sort of option like Zach Pascal or McCole Hardman. And then obviously with safety, re-sign Jordan Poyer. That's what I'm going to keep saying. You have any other thoughts, Zach?
Man, are we saying this is wide receiver 2, or are we just saying this is like a wide receiver 3 or 4?
Depends on who it is.
If it's Josh Downs, then you know that that's like a wide receiver. That could be like a wide receiver like 2 on this team. For sure. Downs is crazy good. Especially getting thrown the ball to, he'll be transitioning from Mays to Josh Allen. He's going to have crazy numbers. Zach Pascal is, if you're just looking for a depth piece, which is what it says, I guess Zach Pascal and McCole Hardman are the things that you really want to go with. And then if we talked about linebackers too, right? Yes. Okay. Rashad Evans is probably it. Jack Campbell is third to second round. I wouldn't say the Bills have other glaring needs and other areas to deal with than going with Jack Campbell. And they can always just get Tremaine and a re-sign, or they can get some other person like Rashad Evans, which is probably that seems like a Bill. I feel like he's been a Bill before. I might be wrong. He probably just was on the Titans and that's it. So that might be just me being stupid. But yeah, I would say Rashad Evans, and then probably I would say you kind of want to destroy the Chiefs a little bit. Probably try to get McCole Hardman, because like if you can destroy a little bit of their depth, that could help a little bit. So yeah.
This now will take us down to our final thing, which is going to be right tackles. That was a bad position for them, and I don't really know how to approach it. If you're Buffalo, you're not going to have a lot of money. You're not going out to get a big name right tackle. Similar to the Dolphins, there's some options. Andre Dillard, he's been stuck on the Eagles, so obviously there hasn't been a lot of chances to play with Mariah and Lane Johnson. First rounder, had some upside, but really has not done that much. Maybe a new change of scenery. Billy Turner, I don't know about either. That one could be a rough start, but he could stabilize position a little better than they had it last year. And then, of course, I think the range. Anton Harrison, Darnell Wrights of the world, that kind of range in the draft. They're not high enough to get to one of the big 3, but they could get one of these second rounders, and maybe they'll be ready to start, depending on how well they fit into the system so far. But overall, I think they are going to want to add a new right tackle to the team if they can, or at very least bring in some competition for whoever's starting for them right now.
Yeah, I think with linebacker, Tremaine Edmonds will be really funny if they do actually sign him, and they're also able to sign Terrell too. And then, yeah, right tackle, I think Anton Harrison would be a good option to draft, or Andre Dillard. He'd be really good to sign, but I don't know with that cap space if they could. Billy Turner would also be pretty good too, but I think Anton Harrison would probably be the option that they're going because of that negative cap space if they were going tackle. So, yeah.
Man, their cap space is horrible. They have to sign Anton Harrison and hope that he can be able to move to right tackle well enough, because he's only played left at Oklahoma, which is weird. The film I've seen on him. I don't know. Is there any other film about him where he's playing right? I haven't seen any of that stuff. I've seen his film. It's just I haven't seen him play right ever. So that's a little concerning in my opinion, but it's fine. I think that's the best value option. So yeah, I would say Bills probably should go Anton Harrison. So yeah, that's everyone, right? Yeah. All right. Well, we do have one interesting situation, so we're gonna go on to the East now. So some people that have to get brought back is Jerome Payne and Trey Turner. The quarterback position is a very interesting. I know Sam Howell's a starter, but it wouldn't be bad to get C.J. Stroud, Jimmy G, or Derek Carr. In my opinion, probably I would put Jimmy G there. That seems like the fit I would do because that is actually a really nice fit. Yeah, Jimmy G, because if Sam Howell is not everything that you want him to be, it's okay because Jimmy Garoppolo can come in and he'll be a very consistent starter. So yeah, does anybody else have anything to say about the quarterback position or the guys that are trying to get brought back?
No.
Let's see. So the guys to bring back, $8 million, not bad. We'll see how much they're able to clear. Trey Turner would be a pretty decent loss for them. They need the starting left guard, and obviously Jerome Payne was their first round draft a couple years ago. Played well, then Matt Ioannidis left. Now he's like a full-time starter, all that. So I think their number one need still quarterback. Heineke, I don't know if he can be the long-term starter. You have Sam Howell. I get they seem to like him, so good for them if they're a fan of him and it works out. But still, I consider at least going after a Derek Carr or Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Jimmy Garoppolo at this point is a little more practical. Derek Carr doesn't want to have to deal with Sam Howell, especially if they think that he could be a long-term starter. Jimmy G could be more of a transition guy. Then obviously you're trading up for Stroud, but if you can do it, go for it. Might as well. I think that'd be a good fit. Kill Sam Howell's stream because they're not gonna bench a first-round pick, but still, if you can get C.J. Stroud, trade up, and that's the guy you like, go for it. But overall, I think they're going after a veteran. Probably a Jimmy G free agent signing.
Yeah, I think the guys to bring back is definitely Trey Turner and Deron Payne. Trey Turner would be amazing for the Commanders, and Deron Payne, he's been great for them. Absolutely amazing. So make sure to bring him back. And with quarterback, I think that Jimmy Garoppolo would probably be the best option for them if they don't believe in Sam Howell. But they do have Eric Bieniemy coming in, so that's going to be a really big wild card for their offense. So with a steady hand like Jimmy Garoppolo, who's not going to impress you, but he's not going to disappoint you, he's just going to be very mid. I think it'd be a great option for Bieniemy to start off with in Washington.
All right, the next needs are safety and linebacker Brian Branch, Von Bell, Jabril Peppers for safeties, and the linebacker is Deion Jones, Jack Campbell, Trenton Simpson, and Drew Sanders. I like all of these, especially where the Commanders actually projected. They're projected kind of later, aren't they? This year, I feel like
They're in the high teens, I believe.
16. They could be out of Brian Branch's range. Some boards, they're out of Brian Branch's range. I think that they're almost in his range, which is great. Yeah, the safeties is weird. I feel like they could totally just get Von Bell. It just seems like he would go to the Commanders too. He just seems like a Commander. So that's just, I think Von Bell, and then linebacker situation. Honestly, Jack Campbell fits this team a lot because they're original. Who is that guy that they drafted out of Kentucky? I can't think of his name. He was a first rounder they took.
When did they do it?
Oh, I think it was in 2020. It might have been.
Davis?
Yeah, Jermaine Davis. He's not been like a really big piece, and that's the reason we're trying to replace him, right?
Yeah, he struggled.
Yeah, so Jack Campbell would be that guy, and he's pretty solid. He'd take a little bit more to develop, but he could be that guy that they need. And if they don't like Jack Campbell, Drew Sanders is always a great option. I think Trent Simpson will already be gone And they're drafting next, so yeah. Josh or Jack, you want to take safeties and linebackers from your take?
Well, I think with safety, Brian Branch would be an amazing option if they could get him. I think that would help them a lot. And then if they can't do that, they got a little bit of cap space, so they could probably sign somebody like Jabril Peppers. And then with linebacker, I could definitely see them going another way and going Trenton Simpson if Brian Branch isn't there. And even if they can't do that, Deion Jones would be amazing. Devin Bush would probably ask for a little bit more money, but would still be a great option to help that defense go back to their form. And I believe it was 2019 or 2020. I think it was 2020 because that's when Chase Young was a rookie. Going back to that form of like a secretly good defense. So yeah.
So I guess for safety, this feels like one of their huge needs. Brian Branch, it's going to depend on the board. If they're like in the higher teens, where he's probably projected to go in the lower teens, depending on who grabs him. But I think definitely at least consider grabbing him. Von Bell, if you could make it work, by all means go for it. But a little tight on money. $8 million will not be enough for Von Bell. So I think more likely you're going after the Terrell Edmonds, Jabril Peppers of the world. That range of safety is probably where you're going. Then for linebacker, casted a wide net for this one. Go for Deion Jones, depending on the market value. Or you can go Trenton Simpson, Drew Sanders if you want to use the first-round pick. Jack Campbell if you want to use the first-round pick on something else and use the second-round pick for Jack Campbell. I think that's probably the way they approach it. They need to figure out a way to get that linebacker position. It's one of the few weaknesses they have in that defense, linebacker, safety. So I think adding one would be great. They should definitely add one of the three listed on this if they can.
All right, Josh, how are you?
Oh yeah, I did the 2 and 3.
Awesome. All right. Now the last two needs are tackle and interior O-line. So basically their entire O-line. Well, reading this like George Fant, Chris Johnson, Riley Reed. Oh God, that sounds scary already. All right, they'll probably have to go Riley Reed because George Fant's gonna want money. Paris Johnson's a little too high for them, which is weird to say, but he's supposed to go like top 10. Kind of crazy. Interior, I can totally see Osiris Torrance going in the teens. That is crazy. Like people would say that's crazy, but this guy is very good. So I could see him going with Carl McGovern and the other guy and Roger Sapp. It's really not. I don't really see anybody else for them that with those names. I guess just try to re-sign Trey Turner. That's kind of the move there. So I guess re-sign Trey Turner and then just, I guess, go after Reef. It's not the best, but it's what's gonna have to work for now. All right, you guys have anything to say?
Well, I think like what you said. Probably for these last needs, maybe re-sign Riley Reef, but just try to bring back Trey Turner. All these options. After your first couple options, your cap space won't be good enough to sign these people, so just focus on the draft with getting like some high risers maybe, or some secretly good talents. Don't try to get in free agency with these 4 and 5 positions.
All right. Tackle. They have Leno on the left side. That's why I think Fant, unless one of Fant or Leno is cool with moving to the right side, which I doubt either is super fond of that, especially Fant, who's just escaped moving from left to right on the Jets. So I don't think that's going to happen. Right tackle for them was Sam Cosmi, and he is a rough watch. So they are going to need to upgrade, even if that means just signing Riley Reef, who's not that good either, to be honest. Maybe your best bet is just hoping one of the big three slips out of that range, though I highly doubt it. Titans and Jets sitting right next to each other are probably going to go 1, 2, and then if all it needs is one more to go, and you have zero chance at them. But you definitely need to think of a right tackle thing, or write it out with Sam Cosmi and let whoever your quarterback is get demolished a few more times. As for the interior offensive line, it all depends on Trey Turner. because they have Andrew Norwell. I think he's on for another year for now. Not bad, not good. He can do it for now. Get Trey Turner back though. Just make it easy on yourself. Then all you got to worry about is center. Or get rid of Trey Turner or Cyrus Torrance in the draft. That's not a bad move at all. And if you can get McGovern too, but I think you're going to want to use that money somewhere else, especially if you're adding a veteran quarterback. So overall, they need just a lot of O-line. Outside of Leno and Norwell, I don't really trust anybody else in that O-line, so they're definitely going to have to make some changes there.
We on the Giants now?
Yep, we are off to the Giants.
Everyone said, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, Daniel Jones. I gotta ask the question to you guys: have conversations soured between the Giants and Daniel Jones, or
They're weird.
Not that I heard of.
Daniel Jones walked in and asked for like $45 million, is the rumor.
didn't he fire his agent or something?
Yeah, and then the new agent told him to ask for a lot more money.
Okay, so that's going to be a really hard selling point with Daniel Jones. I think their biggest thing, I know it's a running back, but Saquon, he's looking great after his ACL tear. So don't break the bank on him, but give him some money. Make sure to bring him back. Daniel Jones, if he's asking for too much money, find someone else. Someone would like to play with Dable. It doesn't have to be Daniel Jones. He could probably make another quarterback amazing. Just find like some late round guy to compete with Jones for the starting role if you need to. I think a Hopkins trade could definitely happen for this team. I think that would be amazing for their receiving core. Imagine Hopkins and Kenny Galladay. That'd be goated in 2019. And then Jordan Allison's pretty good. Michael Thomas, stay away from Michael Thomas. Slant Man has not been playing. He just disappeared. I don't know where the freak he is, but he's not on the field. So, yeah, that's my take on this.
I like Michael Thomas. I don't think you should break the bank for either of these guys. Diop is great, but do you really want to trade your value that you have for him? And then Michael Thomas has been very inconsistent. I think you should go for a guy in the draft like Jordan Addison or Quentin Johnson, or if you really like Jackson Smith and Jigba, I would say go for him too. So, or you can go later in the rounds with Keishon Butte, or you can go with a very late rounder. It's a weird one to say. So I would recommend a guy in the draft because of how much the wide receiver market has changed, and you're basically paying them a lot of money now. So yeah, and then I think that they should get back Saquon. That's my opinion, because Saquon was great for their offense last year, and he was good his rookie year. So why not just keep feeding him until he breaks again? So it'll be fine. And Daniel Jones, they probably should re-sign. It just matters on what he's asking for. So yeah.
The guys to bring back get kind of interesting. I'm prioritizing Saquon. Guy's the motor of the offense. I get it. You're going to probably go after a big playmaker to take some pressure off of him. But still, I like to have him back. Daniel Jones is weird. I don't know if he's actually asking for $45 million. That's a lot for a guy that threw 15 passing TDs. I get it. He had 700 yards on the ground and 7 TDs on the ground or whatever. So he's good. I'll give him that. He's good, but like $45 million, that's really high. Like I was thinking more like maybe the $30 million, that kind of area. But that's up to the Giants if they want to do that. Daniel Jones is good. He won a playoff game, so I think keeping QB continuity is a thing they should consider. So overall, you have enough money. Try to bring them both back if you can, hoping that things go well in the negotiations for Daniel Jones. As for wide receiver, the quest for a number one playmaker, probably a perimeter guy, is about to start. You have Richie James, Kenny Galladay, Darius Slayton, Isaiah Hodgins. Like, this is just... Maybe there's a 2 or a 3 receiver on this team, but there's definitely not a 1. I don't know how Michael Thomas is getting to free agency. It's something in his contract to void stuff, but I don't know if I'd 100% trust him. You want a consistent guy. You'd have to bet on Michael Thomas playing 16 games in the season, which is like, ooh, I don't know about that. A D-Hop trade, we don't know what that value would look like. So I don't know if you want to necessarily do that either. But if you're looking for a big-time playmaker, he is probably your guy. I think the most practical route is they use that first-round draft pick on the Jordan Addison, the Quentin Jeffersons, that sort of range, or Quentin Johnson. I don't remember which one it was, but TCU guy. I think that's what they're going to do ultimately. They're going to start to get a number one receiver, and they're going to add to this room, get another playmaker. That should be the biggest priority. I think that'll take pressure off Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, and it'll add just another layer to this Giants offense and something else for Dable to cook up.
Okay. So 2 and 3 are inside linebacker and interior line. I think that Levante David would be a great option here, especially to bolster up that Giants line. And that would probably be my pick for them to go with. And then for interior line, if Connor McGovern's there, you get him. If maybe you want to go in the... But I think Connor McGovern would probably be the best. What he's done for New York these past 2 years has been amazing. And I think if he just flipped to the other side of MetLife, he would just keep up this dominance that he's had. So Levante David and Connor McGovern are my options for them to go after. Anyone else?
Okay. Well, Vontae David's too old. They're still in Giants are still in rebuild mode. I would say either Tremaine Edmonds or Drew Sanders because those guys, I've already mentioned Drew Sanders enough, and Tremaine Edmonds would probably make sense, and I would break the bank a little bit for him. And then interior, Connor McGovern, steal him from New York would probably be an interesting situation. I think Bradbury's a little too old again. They're still in this weird rebuild mode. They're good enough to compete, but not good enough to win a championship yet. So they're in that weird gray area. And then I don't think you really want to take Torrance if you're already going to take one of those wide receivers because I feel like that's where you should go. So that's just me. So I think McGovern, if I had to choose something, McGovern and Tremaine Edmonds.
That brings us to... So we did inside linebacker. Giants have $46 million. They're going to need to spend it somewhere. Levante David is a little old, so you'd have to believe in yourself a lot as a championship contender. So that kind of depends on where they view themselves. If they're a team of the present, team of the future, all that. So I think it kind of depends on that. Tremaine Edmonds, I think he's a home run because he's going to get paid like a number one linebacker. He's going to get a chance to prove it in the Giants. No more Matt Milano to sit next to him. Drew Sanders, you're going to have to use that. You're going to lose that on wide receiver. So if you got Drew Sanders, you need to hope you signed the big name receiver or traded for him. As for interior O-line, they have Mark Gawinski from the Colts last year. He's played solid. Outside of that, they could use a guard or a center, preferably center. Obviously, I think McGovern's the best fit for them. If they want to bring in a strong starting center, they can afford to do it. I think they should definitely consider it.
Okay. So our final two options for this are tight end and corner, and y'all can read the names. This is going to be a very interesting year. I think the Giants could definitely sign Austin Hooper. They love signing old tight ends. So I think that would probably be their best option there. Maybe draft Darnell Washington if they really want to go tight end. I think it's better just to sign one like an Austin Hooper or a Mike Gesicki. And then for corner, Marcus Peters would be amazing for this team if they wanted to break the bank for him. Kyle Fuller, he'd be pretty good. Jonathan Jones, he'd be a solid option. But I think Marcus Peters should be like their big target if they want a really good corner. So, yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts on this?
I actually think that they should go Mike Gesicki or Darnell Washington. Again, the rebuild, they're still in a weird area, like I said. I keep saying about the Giants. But Darnell Washington is a great blocker, and he has been one of the most consistent blockers I've seen. And Mike Gesicki, he's been a great receiving threat, and if they're not going to give Daniel Jones any help on the wide receiver area, they should at least give him a decent tight end to throw to. Actually, not even decent. This guy's very good. And then for corners, all these guys are too old for me, especially. But I think that they should go for like a guy like Clark Phillips in the draft, or just a couple other guys I like in this draft a lot. I just need to read their names real quick. I think Devonta Banks, or I'm not reading Stevenson's name. I can't even read that first name. But I'll try my best. Tylukwa. I'm not gonna try. That's the best I'm gonna do. He's a corner out of Miami. He's been very good too. Those guys are very good at covering. I think if you really want to go a corner here, I think trading up for Clark Phillips or Emmanuel Forbes, or you go Devonta Banks or Stevenson. So, I think you should go there in that area. So that's just my opinion, though. All right, Josh will go with the Cowboys now, and then.
I got to do mine for tight ends and corners.
Oh, my bad. I'm so sorry about that, Jack.
Oh, you're good. So for tight ends, $46 million. Once again, it's going to depend on how they play. The top of their needs. I like Darnell Washington for them a lot, actually. I'm also cool with the Michael Mayer if he's there. They want him. I believe there's one out of Utah that could also be a good fit. Dalton Kincaid?
Oh, I can't even say his last name. It's like King Gakey.
I think all three of those options are good if you want to go in the draft. You can get one of these high-end tight ends. I don't know which ones are going in the first, if any. Probably Mayer, but it kind of depends on what you want. But, I mean, you can afford a Gesicki. Austin Hooper's the budget option, but if you want to go in all for a perimeter, or not a perimeter playmaker. If you want to go in for a playmaker for DJ that's not a wide receiver, then Gesicki could be the best option outside of wide receivers because he does a lot of good work. And tight end, and he can slide out to receiver sometimes. As for CB, pretty big need as well. I don't really know how they want to handle it at this point. They could sign these three. Obviously, Marcus Peters is really good. Kyle Fuller's coming off the injury, so it would be a buy low deal. And then you have Jonathan Jones, who's pretty middle of the pack. I think you could, like Zach said, consider drafting one of them as well. So it just kind of just depends on the approach. They have money. They just have to decide where they want to use it.
Hey guys, we have a comment in the comment section for the live chat.
Oh, I didn't see them.
Lions.
2044 Super Bowl champs. I could see it.
Yes, sir. Biting kneecaps. I would love to see Dan Campbell win a ring.
His Super Bowl party probably goes crazy.
Oh yeah, I would fly to Detroit to go see that.
Be a special ceremony.
Yeah, especially because wouldn't that be like Detroit's first ever championship ever?
Definitely for the Lions. I think maybe the Pistons have one or two.
Wait, Pistons and Red Wings. I forgot about them.
Outside of that, though, they have really nothing.
Yeah. Besides winter sports, but yeah, 2024 Super Bowl champs, Detroit Lions. You heard it by Little Yoshi first.
Oh, little Yoshi.
Yeah, so thanks for the comment.
Alright, let's get back to it. Cowboys, I believe I said... Who took the last one? Because it would just go...
I took the last one.
Yeah, that's back to Jack. So
Jack, isn't this the next year's Super Bowl champs?
Oh, no, never.
They're actually gonna... You know what the Arlington Renegades have that the Cowboys don't?
Okay, let's get into this.
They're actually a team in Dallas that plays in February.
Oh. The Dallas Cowboys. We'll see about these Dallas Cowboys. Just get right into it. Big time free agents are leaving Dallas. Tony Pollard. That was a bad injury. Kind of makes a massive question mark on how much he's going to get paid, if they want to guarantee the money. It just hurts a lot, especially after a Pro Bowl year, going to a contract year. That was a big year for him, and it's really unfortunate that he had to get injured like that at the end. And then Dalton Schultz. This guy is incredibly underrated and invaluable to especially to Dallas specifically, because I get it. CeeDee Lamb is really good, but like outside of that, like T.Y. Hilton was a number 2 for a bit. Gallup really hasn't been the same since the tear. Dalton Schultz is a critical playmaker in this Dallas offense, and I think they're going to need to try to get him back if possible. So I guess I'll start with the two needs. Cornerback and wide receiver will open us up. Now, money is going to be tight here. -7 million, especially if you want to try to pull off Tony Pollard or Dalton Schultz, could be in big trouble. So cornerback, I think they have a first. They're not going to be in range. I don't think Witherspoon or Christian Gonzalez are going to be the moves for them. I think they're going to be more in the Cam Smith, Ringo range, which is fine. They're good players, first round grades, all that. And I think they're definitely better than Anthony Brown, or I think that was his name. And then Rock Ya-Sin is the free agent option. If you're able to sign him, he could be the decent budget player, come in and play solid. Dan Quinn coaches him up. He improves. He's a pretty talented player. Just got to put it together. And then the next biggest need is definitely wide receiver. CD is great, but outside of CD, it's not a lot going on there. I think a CD paired with a solid vet could go a long way. I think Robert Woods just got cut today. He's free. He's going to be able to go wherever he likes. He's the definition of a number 2. Coming off the Achilles, he looked okay, but then again, the Titans don't really pass the ball, so we don't really know yet. But I like Robert Woods as a solid option. Same with Jacoby Myers. They're not going to break the bank for him, go crazy, but it's solid. And then if you want to go the draft route, definitely think Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee. All those second rounds, or even if you go crazy good in the first round ones for the receivers, I think they could definitely grab one there too. But I do think, especially if you lose Dalton Schultz and Tony Pollard, playmakers are going to be needed. Wide receiver needs to be a high priority.
Yeah, I think that maybe don't bring back Tony Pollard, especially because you have Zeke on that contract. I'd love to see him back. But I don't know with their cap space that they would really want to bring a guy like Tony back. And Dalton Schultz, he should be brought back. He's very underrated. Probably be very low-key to most NFL GMs. Probably go under the radar so you wouldn't have to pay him as much, which is really good, especially with that -7 million that they have in cap. And this is for a Super Bowl championship team. So corner, besides Trayvon, you don't really have much. So I think Ringo or Rock Ya-Sin would be an amazing option to pair up with them. And then receiver, I actually think that OBJ could be like a secretly good option. Especially because it seems like a very Jerry Jones-esque signing. To sign the really big, crazy superstar to a contract. So, give me OBJ that they're going to sign to the Dallas Cowboys. I think that they're probably going to... I want to say that they probably go Ringo in the draft. Those are my 2 picks.
Okay. Probably I would go Ringo here if they can figure out a way to get into that area, which I think they might already be in that area to draft Ringo. So it's weird with Ringo. He either is really high or really low. They could be in that range to get Ringo. I think that they should go for that. I think they should probably just bring back Dalton Schultz. I don't think Tony Pollard should break the bank for, and yeah.
Okay, so next options?
I guess the next 2 we're going to hit are going to be O-line and linebacker. O-line, that's a little general. I think it's interior O-line that they're going to be looking at. They drafted Tyler Smith, and you got Tyron Smith. I don't know where they're going to play either of those guys, but I think interior is more where you're looking. You have Zach Martin, best guy in the league, all that. But the other 2 positions are a little lackluster, especially since losing Connor Williams. And then obviously linebacker, Leighton Vander Esch is leaving. You have Micah, but he's more of a pass rusher at this point than playing coverage snaps, so we got to look that way as well. Anthony Barr's leaving too. That's another one. So I guess I'll hit interior O-line first. Roger Saffold, he's going to be tough to get depending on the asking price, but if you're able to do it, go for it. Dalton Reisner, I put this one on here because I really like the player, but it's going to take a borderline miracle to pull it off. I think he's going to be asking for a decent chunk of cash at this point. He's definitely going to be paid in the upper echelon of guards in the league, so I think they're going to have to look at that. But if not, there's a lot of solid interior options. Go with Cyrus Torrance in the first, didn't put it on there. But if you don't want to use your first, the Cody Marsh, the Minnesota center that I can't say the name of, sorry about that again. And Andrew Voorhees as well. So there's some solid options, but I do think it needs to at least start to be addressed at this point. As for linebacker, Drew Sanders, that one makes a lot of sense if you want to add somebody, first rounder though, so you have to invest. Noah Sewell you could get with your second rounder. And then, of course, the solid vet options like Rashaan Evans. I think he could come right in to the Dan Quinn scheme and make it work.
Yeah, I think that Saffold and Reisner, they're going to be asking for too much, so I believe that they're probably just going to go March. And then you just talked about linebackers. Probably one of the guys in the draft, honestly. I don't think they should really try for Rashad Evans. I think either Noah Sewell or... I think Noah Sewell should be it because they don't need a tackler. They need a guy who can go into coverage. I think Sewell is the best coverage guy in this class, so go for Sewell.
I think that with O-line, they probably, if they're going to do anything there, it'd have to be with Cody Mosh. That'd probably be the only option that they really have because of that negative $7 million in cap, and they're probably going to be trying vigorously to bring back Dalton Schultz. Yeah, I know how to use big words. And then linebacker, probably Noah Sewell, like Zach said, because of his coverage skills. Probably most of their stuff has got to be done through the draft because of, again, cap space. So, yeah, 2 people you should probably draft, Noah Sewell and Cody Marsh.
All right, that'll bring us to our final need. That's going to be safety. Not a lot going on up there for the most part. Now, cap is tight. Brian Branch, long shot. Going to be honest. This team won a playoff game. They're going to be in the 20s. Brian Branch is probably going to be a top 20 player. Don't know if you can reach him. If you can, that's perfect. I think Antonio Johnson, that's more your range. That's more your speed at this point. You could probably grab him in the second. Maybe you have to use 25. And then if you wanted to go with a vet option in free agency, Julian Love could be a solid guy. There's a bunch of others out there that we've already mentioned. But ultimately, you're definitely going to want to add at least one safety to this room if you can.
Okay. Yeah, I think Antonio Johnson's probably your best option for where they are. Brian Branch will probably be off the board when they're picking. If they don't want to go with either of those, Julian Love is probably the next best thing compared to those two.
They should probably spend their first rounder not on safety, though, because they're not a complete team, and usually teams that are complete spend the first rounders on safeties, unless they're like some type of talent like Brian Branch is, which I could see the Cowboys trading up to get him. I think Julian Love is who they should really go, or like Jermaine Ward or something like that. Some old veteran that just needs a deal. Alright, we're our last team, which is the best team in the NFC technically. So yeah, so guys to bring back for the Eagles: Fletcher Cox, James Bradbury, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And then we're going to talk about their first position, which is DT they need. If Fletcher Cox does retire, which is, there was rumors about that. Some guys, they could bring back Javon Hargraves. They could get Brian Breesy, which he's been dealing with injuries, so he's starting to fall down boards. Or they could get Sake Ika. I'm saying that very badly. I'm so sorry for that. That guy has a really hard name. He's a defensive tackle coming out of Baylor. In my opinion, if they can get Breesy, which is going to be crazy if they can get him, especially where they are, that'd be crazy because injuries have taken that into account. He has draft boards because of those injuries that he dealt with this year. I think that if the Eagles really want him, they can trade up to pair him up with Jordan Davis on the same side, and if they really want Hargraves back or they want Fletcher Cox back, there are always options. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that James Bradbury, even though that he had a really costly holding call to lose in the Super Bowl, he's still a very great corner. And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is an amazing safety, so those two being brought back are probably a must. I don't know how to gauge this Eagles team this year because they lost both their coordinators, and I don't know how they're going to be looking this year. So with D-tackle, we're going to go into this like Fletcher Cox has retired because we really don't know what he's going to do. I think the best option for them to draft with where they are, Brian Breesy is off the board unless they're trading up. So I really want them to go with another prospect here. But if they want to go with Siaki Ika from Baylor, I think they could do that. But they're probably not doing that in the first round if they're going to select him. I already have my guy who I want them to select that's a little bit further down on this list. So yeah.
I guess for biggest needs, Fletcher Cox retiring feels likely at this point, so definitely got to look at it. You have Jordan Davis, but you're going to need somebody next to him, so that's definitely a priority. Same with James Bradbury. He's not going to retire, but if he leaves, it's going to be a big impact. He was very good for the Eagles last year. Him and Slay make up a great pairing. And then, of course, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, another very solid player. It automatically creates a big need at safety for the Eagles if he's able to shake loose, and he's going to want some money, so you have about $6 million to somehow find a way to get James Bradbury and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back. That sounds like an uphill battle, but we'll see if they can pull it off. Biggest need is DT, obviously. Javon Hargrave, that's a great option. Bring him back. And I think you have 10 from the Saints, I believe. So Brian Breesy, it's still probably potentially a long shot. I'm not going to say it's a guaranteed long shot, but there's a chance he's not on the board there, and you'll have to pivot. But if you can get Brian Breesy at 10, I think that's a home run. Saki Ika, I think that would be with the later pick in the first or the second at that point. But overall, you're going to need to put someone next to Jordan Davis, Hargrave. All those are big priorities. They overall just need to make sure that D-line stays intact as well. So big priority this offseason, fixing DT.
All right, cool. So the next two are cornerback and running back. Which is Joey Porter, James Bradbury, Christian Gonzalez for corner. For running back, Boston Scott, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Miles Sanders is also a free agent, so they could totally re-sign Miles Sanders too. But I'm gonna talk about corners first. Joey Porter or Christian Gonzalez will be there. I think they should try to re-sign James Bradbury, and then maybe if they can't, take Clark Phillips or Emmanuel Forbes. I've been recommending those two a lot for these late round teams because of how good these guys are, especially for the value that they're projected to be taken at and their talent wise. They're not going to be Devon Witherspoon or I would even recommend at this area Cam Smith, but they're not going to be like Christian Gonzalez or Devon Witherspoon, which is the 1 and 2 guys for this corner class. This was made a month ago, I believe, or was worked on a month ago. So Christian Gonzalez and Joey Porter were in that range, but now they have very much rose, while Cam Smith and Ringo have very much fallen. So yeah, I would recommend Clark Phillips. And then for running backs, I love the Bijan Robinson pick or Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that they should really think about doing that because that would be a very good move for them. Especially, I would even take Bijan at 10 or wherever they have that. That's crazy for me to say, but Bijan is very good running back. And watching his film makes me so excited to see him going into the league. So, yeah.
I completely forgot that they have like a really good pick this year. But my selection for them, probably with their later pick, is to take Bijan. Bijan is amazing. We got to see him play at the Texas TCU game. So he is the real deal. If he's there, draft him. So yeah, that's my take for them. Don't try to re-sign any of your running backs. Just get Bijan. You should be fine. And then with corner, like everyone else said, sign James Bradbury.
All right, so corner, second biggest need, Bradbury, number 1, Gonzalez, Joey Porter, 10 probably could grab one of them. I think Witherspoon's probably falling out of range to make it past 10 at this point. He's probably going top 10. So I think Joey Porter, Christian Gonzalez, maybe even a Cam Smith or a Ringo, those are all going to be in your range at 10 if you want to draft instead of re-signing Bradbury. And then, honestly, I think I agree. Bijan, you should try to draft Bijan. You're complete enough as a team at this point where running back is going to be a thing. Miles Sanders is gone potentially. He's a free agent. Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, he's okay too, but ultimately, Bijan could bring a whole new level to this offense. It already has elite playmakers as it is. Adding Bijan in this mix could be elite. But if not, I think a Jahmyr Gibbs is another very solid option. So overall, I think prioritize getting the CB2, and if you can, grab Bijan. That would be really fun to watch.
Alright, cool. Now we're just going to end off with our last two needs for them, which is the interior line and the safeties. The interior line, that because Jason Kelsey could retire, and I believe some of their guards are thinking about retiring too. Right? I think so.
I think one of them is, yeah.
Mailata, the other guy.
Lane Johnson.
Yeah. So the interior that we've chosen is Osiris Torres, Isaiah Samuel, I cannot pronounce that, and then Roger Saffold. Safeties is Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Brian Branch, and Antonio Johnson, which that should say draft on it. I did not put that, which I'll put that real quick. My bad, guys. Nice. Alright, so honestly, besides Torres, he's probably not going to be in their range. I think that they could get Saffold on a cheaper deal just because they just went to the Super Bowl, and that's probably who I would go. And then for safeties, I would totally take Brian Branch. He could fill in that need too, where James Bradbury, if you can't re-sign him, I think Brian Branch is perfect for that role. So probably taking him at 10 would be perfect. So yeah, I'm gonna say Brian Branch and Roger Saffold. So yeah, that's for me.
Alright, so that'll bring us
I think Osiris Torrance would be really good. I think they should probably focus on DT with that first pick, maybe like a Brian Breesy type player. And then with their safety, just re-sign Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. But I think for guard or interior line, probably Isaac Sumalo would be good. Maybe not Roger Stafford, so I'd say Isaac Sumalo as my guy. Same.
I guess that leaves us with interior O-line, which Osiris Torrance, you'd have to use the Saints pick on him. That's what you want to do, but I don't know. That's not my number one route for them, to fix interior O-line that early. They could find some other solid players. They have enough good players around them, so I think Isaac Samalo or Roger Saffold are another good option. I expect the vet to come in dirt cheap because they're contenders. So that's my expectation at this point. And then for safety, if you can't get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back, by all means go for it. Brian Barnes, that's another guy you're drafting with the Saints pick. I think more realistically you're going to be going after Antonio Johnson and those guys in the second round. Overall, I think your biggest priorities with the Saints pick will either be Bijan, a CB, or interior defensive lineman. But overall, they got 2 first rounders this year. Pretty impressive. They have a little bit of money, but I don't expect them to be able to get any game breakers as free agents this year.
Alright, well that does it for our stream. I'm not gonna apologize for being it too long. If you guys enjoy these videos, we always enjoy making these and getting our own opinions about every team. We should be doing next week, we should be doing the AFC and NFC North, and then we'll say what we're gonna do next and keep going and so forth. But get ready for that video. That's going to be another long stream, and we hope that you guys are having a good day. XFL has just started. We're probably not going to be covering the XFL too much on this channel just because football kind of got me burnt out, obviously, because I looked into a lot of prospects this year for college, and we also went to a lot of games altogether for high school football and college, so I'm a little burnt out. I don't know about these two. They might be still wanting to watch a lot more football, so yeah, that's just me. Yeah. So we're going to keep doing these videos. We'll come up with new ideas and make this offseason a lot more fun than last year. Last year was a lot of fun, but we're going to boost the standard this year, so yeah.
We're going to make it funner.
That's not a word.
Well, I'm making up words tonight. This stream was
Yeah.
long, and funner's now a word.
All right, Jack. You want to hit the plugs or say anything?
As
Onwards.
usual, the Instagram and Twitter is right here at Frontline FB. Check those out for the extra content stuff. Our goal is we're going to push to get all these teams off-season previews done by the time the free agent tampering period officially starts and stuff really starts to go down. So stay tuned if you want to see how your team is going to execute their off-season, or how they should, at least, based on our recommendations. But we'll be back next week to do the North. We'll be doing AFC and NFC North. So, Bears fans, exciting times. That's a lot of money you guys have. We'll go over it next week, though. And we hope you enjoyed. Off-season is just beginning. See you guys next week.